PayPal is a company I own in my personal portfolio, and they just reported their Q1 2025 earnings. Their non-GAAP EPS was reported as a beat by 17 cents, while they missed their revenue by $40 million, up by only 1% year over year. Now, their total payment volume increased by 3% to $417.2 billion, which was the main reason why the company was up by about 4% after announcing their earnings. Their payment transactions decreased by 7%, but payment transactions excluding payment service providers such as MasterCard and Visa actually increased by 6%, and payment transactions per active user again decreased by 1%, but excluding payment service providers increased by 4%, with active accounts increasing by 2% to 436 million, which is about 5% of the whole world population. Overall, we are getting some mixed results. So should you start buying into the company right now? In other words, are they over or undervalued? Well, to figure that out, we'll jump to my stock valuation spreadsheet, where as you can see, their 5-year PE ratio and their 5-year price to free cash flow are the only two pillars that are sitting in the red. Now, if I jump to pillar 1, you can see that currently the PE ratio is sitting at only 14.87, much lower than the 5-year average. And that is the same case with the price to free cash flow, which is sitting at only 11.34, much lower than the 5-year average. Now, to really understand if PayPal is over or underpriced, we can jump to the multiples valuation, where we will compare the company to 3 of its competitors. I will take these competitors' PE ratios and average them out to an average PE of 29.82. Now, as you remember, when I jump back to pillar 1, the current PE ratio of PayPal is sitting at only 14.87, which is almost 50% lower than the average PE of its competitors. So when we multiply the earnings per share of PayPal sitting at $4.46 with the average PE of these 3 competitors, we will get an intrinsic value of $133.01, 2 times higher than the current trading price of the company, showing us that PayPal is indeed undervalued compared to its competitors. Now, another way we can calculate the company's intrinsic value is by going through the Grant's formula revised. Here, based on the 5-year earnings per share sitting at about $4 and my 5-year earnings growth estimate, which I plugged in at 8% year over year, we will calculate an intrinsic value of $70.32, which is actually 6% higher than the current trading price. Now, my earnings growth estimate is actually based on the historical earnings per share growth, which as you can see has grown from $3.54 in 2020 to almost $4 in 2024, growing at a 5-year CAGR of 11.65%. Now, as you can see, most of this growth is actually accounted for in 2023. So looking at pillar 4, that is the net income growth, you can see that has been growing much more steadily, growing at a 5-year CAGR of 8.17%. That's why I think it is quite fair if I plug in the 5-year earnings growth estimate at 8% year over year into the next 5 years, which will give us an intrinsic value that is 6% higher than the current trading price. Now, for the next valuation model, the final valuation model, we will jump to the discounted cash flow model. And here, based on the future free cash flow, we will again predict the intrinsic value. So as you can see, the free cash flow has been growing quite well through the past 5 years, increasing by about 20% and growing at a 5-year free cash flow CAGR at almost 9%. Now, into the future, into the next 10 years plus, I will predict a free cash flow CAGR of 7.7% and a discount rate, quite a high discount rate of 10%, and this will give me an intrinsic value of $97.09, still higher than the current trading price. And finally, arriving to the ultimate valuation, I will average out the 3 values we just calculated and get an ultimate intrinsic value of $100, which is about 51% higher than the current trading price. And with a margin of safety of 10%, we would get an acceptable buy price at $90.12. And with that, I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed these valuation spreadsheets, if you find them helpful, you can always download them at the link in the description. With that, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps me out.